What's up, y'all? My name's Jesse. Welcome to the first episode of Next Mood Swing. I'm really excited. I've been wanting to put this out for a long time, but, we're here now, and that's what matters. My first guest is Julie Ofcharsky from Bad Girls Club Season 9. I wanted Julie to come on because our relationship is really unique in the sense of when her season was on, I was doing an after show for Bad Girls Club and ragged on her for what I was seeing on TV. We ended up meeting in person afterwards, and listening to her experience really opened my mind and kind of has been this theme in everything I've done in entertainment up until now about pop culture being almost like a mirror to society and what our beliefs and values are. And sometimes I have conversations with different people if it's actually a mirror or if it's an agenda. And so I wanted to create a platform where I could bring different people on to be able to share these conversations with you and see what y'all think. So if you like the conversation, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and leave a comment down below. Julie Ofcharsky.
Jesse.
Hey, boo. It's been a long time.
It has.
But we back on the mics.
Yes, we are. Okay.
Who is Julie today versus Julie on BGC?
Well, it's funny. I was recently chatting with a friend about this because when I did BGC, I was called out for a lot of my bad behavior on the show. I wasn't nice to people. I treated people badly. And one of the things that I'm actually really grateful for is that I wasn't well received on television, because as traumatic as it was, I was held accountable and it forced me to look in a mirror and change my behavior. And so I am a different person today than I was on Bad Girls Club. And a big part of it is because I did Bad Girls Club.
And what a unique experience too. Like, so I'm not gonna lie, I went back and watched some clips. He was like a baby back then.
I know.
Not like the type of girl that's gonna like talk to a guy and take him home. Like, I'll flirt with you to get drinks out of you, and then if you are annoying, like, I'll be like, get the away from me. Like, that's just how I am.
And just like this little Boston girl, like just this little shit, like,
you get it. You're from there.
Yeah.
Like, we talk a lot of shit. Like, it's a shit
It's an
talking.
East Coast thing. It's like, you know how to talk shit, but at the same time, it's like, I have this with a lot of my friends. If I can't be honest and real with you, keep it, girl. Like,
yes.
And I feel like that's what you and me have always kind of had, that where I remember Danny was like, you need to meet Julie, and we met, and I was kind of nervous because I had like dragged you for your whole season, and and it was like, but then I met you, we talked, you explained to me your version of stuff, because I knew shows were edited, but I didn't understand the behind the scenes of producing reality TV.
Well, now that you work in reality TV, I'm sure you see it really differently.
And again, that's why that's why I needed you to be the first person on this podcast.
I appreciate you.
Tell me about your upbringing, Boston, obviously, but for the viewers that don't know, tell me about your upbringing. What was your childhood like? And how did that lead into you wanting to do Bad Girls?
Yeah, so I had an interesting childhood. I had an idyllic childhood in the sense that, upper middle class, like my mom didn't work. I was very fortunate. Like, she was able to stay home and like take care of us. But the thing I guess that was unusual about my childhood was that I was adopted. So I was adopted by my aunt and uncle, because my biological mother, had mental illness and was a heavy drug user. And, she had 3 kids and wasn't able to take care of any of them. So that was something that I wasn't made aware of until I was 9 years old. Wow. So I went through my whole childhood, like thinking these are my biological parents and my biological siblings. And then when I was 9 years old, my mom told me I was adopted. And as you can imagine, like to a 9-year-old, that's like a crushing, like devastating.
Did you know your actual mom at that time? Or
yes, and I was...
Who was she in your life?
My aunt.
Okay.
So my aunt adopted me, and like they basically like swapped. Yeah.
How did you handle that at 9? Did you understand
How
it?
do you handle that at 9? I mean, I was really inquisitive. Like, I asked lots of questions. My mom, my adoptive mom, who I call my mom, that's who raised me. I asked lots of questions, and I get why my mom did it, like, because her reasoning was that she wanted to tell us at an age where she felt we could understand. And she didn't want us to go through like being little kids with like knowing that. like almost to protect a sort of innocent, meaning me and my sibling who was also adopted. So because I get her reasoning behind it. I also feel like adoption is just a super traumatic event regardless. And it's hard to navigate. Like it's pretty impossible to leave that situation unscathed. Like,
so do you feel like there was a moment where, did you have like a rebellious moment? I think there was definitely like rebellious moments. Like when I would say when I got to high school, like my like partying and all that got pretty out of control. Like it went up and down. It wasn't the whole time, but like there were times where I was out of control. Like I got alcohol poisoning when I was 14. Very, very on par with Massa being a Boston girl.
Yeah, I like almost died. It was so bad. But so for sure. But I think the way, and I don't think this is anything on like my adoption story or like the way my parents handled it. I think this is just something that happens when you were adopted, is like there's always just kind of like this piece of like, did I do something wrong? Was it me? Yeah. Even though like, like you're a baby, like obviously it's not, but I think that you kind of always carry that with you. And I noticed like, I think that's why I was drawn to entertainment. Like I loved being on stage. I was a theater kid. Like I wanted to be in the spotlight by any means necessary. And I think that's kind of the general consensus of like most people in entertainment,
right.
Like they love it. And the reason why is because they want to be loved. Like that desire, like to be famous and to be known and to like have not just about money, but like fame, you know what I mean? And to have a career and like a following. Like right. That is such a deep desire of people, and was for me for a really long time. And I know now that the root of that is like, it's this root of wanting to be loved. Like,
so do you feel that going on Bad Girls, what made you sign up for Bad Girls Club because I know we've personally talked like about growing up, you liked watching like Survivor and stuff like that. Like, so what was it about Bad Girls that was like? Well,
so I originally auditioned for Real World. I did not get Real World. So then I was called in for an audition.
You would have been an iconic Real World.
Right? Well, I messed up in my interview because they asked if I would fight, basically. And I was like, yeah. Like, what would you do? They gave me like a hypothetical scenario. Like, what would you do if someone did X to you? And I was like, well, I would fucking hit them.
No, I had a similar.
I thought I was like tough.
So you signed up for Bad Girls Club.
Yep.
And you went through it, and did you obviously infamously, you ran the house in a very different way than we saw a lot of Bad Girls. It was more of like mental warfare with you.
Completely, yeah.
A lot of the fans, ripped you apart, trashed you. The girls on the show brought all the substances to pour on you.
Oh my goodness.
How did you deal with that afterwards? Did you have shame from being on the show?
For sure.
Did you have, what kind of pain? Like, again, you're saying like this need to be loved. And then all of a sudden people are like hating on you. How did you deal with that kind of?
It was really difficult because to me, like the people that I liked watching on reality TV were like chaotic. Like I loved Tiffany Pollard, who was not nice to any of the girls in the house. Like that was the whole point. You know what I mean? Or I loved the Rock of Love girls, or I Love Money. Like that was the type of reality TV that I was on. And then also Survivor and Big Brother, because my mom loved that shit. But so for me, I'm like going into this very much thinking of it as like a job. And very much thinking of it as like, I want to stay to the end and I want to be really iconic. Like I want to like make an impression, you know what I mean? And I'm not a fighter. Like I'm clearly not great at that. That's not my thing. Like,
I mean, but you did try. I'll give you like in the scene, like I was watching the reunion over, and I mean, you did put your hands up. You did slip on the floor.
I'm not a punk,
right?
Okay,
I'll take it. I'll get knocked down,
and I've won, and I get up again. Exactly. Listen, I'm not a punk. I may not win, but I will fight. I will not shy away from a fight.
And I live for that.
Period.
We love honesty.
That's that. I know my shortcomings, but because I knew that, like, because I was like, okay, I'm not going to be this iconic, like, physical fighter, you know?
Right.
So I have to assert myself in a different way. And then in addition to that, like, people pleaser that I am, which is going to sound so stupid to people because they're like, you were an asshole. But it's like, because I wanted to make production happy. Like, when you...
Which majority of the people, I don't even want to put it on the Girls on Bad Girls Club. Every show I work
on, you get it. Yeah.
The cast wants to appease everyone
that is the
on
point.
set. Yeah.
That is the point, right? And
producer's puppet. That's
what
y'all know, y'all have heard producer's puppet.
And I was the producer's puppet. And does that in any way negate like my bad actions? No. 100% no. I hold myself accountable, and I carried deep shame for like many years over the way. Even though I might not have acted like it, I did. Like, I was very embarrassed.
But
like,
how did you work through that mentally?
Because like years of therapy, like unpacking my own trauma and everything, like I was in a fight or flight mode. Like, I was living in fight or flight mode before I ever went on to Bad Girls Club because of things I was experiencing in my own life, you know? So I wasn't living like a life where I was like safe and regulated. Like, I was in fight or flight mode all the time. So I go into Bad Girls Club, which like A, you're being manipulated, and B, it's a super triggering experience. And I was triggered, and it's brought out the worst in me. And people who've never done reality TV won't get it.
Right.
People who have done reality TV will, including the girls from my cast who, you know, most have forgiven me because they get it. But I mean, forgiving myself because I was doing what I had to do at the time to survive. Like, all of that can exist at once. Like, my behavior can have been hurtful and impacted people negatively, and I can feel like deeply sorry for that and like shame for that. But I can also forgive myself for that because I know that that was the way that I treated people was coming from a place of like deep trauma and pain and like wanting to protect myself.
It's so funny because when I hear your story, and a lot of the reason why on AfterBuzz, the girls who I brought on as hosts, a lot of them were because I had, you know, a personal conversation outside of the show. My biggest thing was whatever I talked to you guys about was not my place to share that information unless one of you guys brought it up.
Right.
And Alicia Saman.
To say things, this is from Alicia's mouth, you know, and that's what people tend to like up, and it drives me crazy.
Was one of the first girls I remember back then when we did AfterBuzz. Her big reasoning, and I got so much hate for letting her do it. Everyone like couldn't stand her. She really like had shared with me her story of, I'm happy I did it because I could see myself, but at the same time I want to be different. I want to change.
Exactly.
And everyone saw her changing and was like, no,
completely.
You're the same
story
person.
of my life. Story of my life.
So you
to this
still
day.
get it today. Okay.
Of course. I mean, the thing is like when you believe all the good stuff that people say about you, you also have to believe all the bad stuff people say about you. And the reality is that there's going to be truth to all of it. But at the end of the day, no one knows how they're going to act in that situation until they're in it.
Also name someone who went on there and did things right.
That,
because you even look at like an Amber Mead, right? Who's the nicest,
My
sweetest,
cookie.
everything. But she was a little shit on her season.
she
you know what I'm
was.
saying?
We
Like,
all were, because it brings out the worst. It's designed.
And the show's called Bad Girls Club.
It's designed to trigger you. It's an experiment. It's literally, you're a rat in a maze.
And it's so funny you say that too, because I say that on most shows with the cast that I've worked on that aren't, you know, pitting people against each other, which is what Bad Girls really was about. But you have to think, like, these people don't have phones. You're being sequestered. Most people don't even know what sequestering is.
They don't
and
know.
Sequestering will have you rethink your life. Imagine being in you can only equate it to being in a prison cell.
Yeah.
Because you
solitary
have no TV,
confinement. Sometimes
no clock. And all you waiting for is someone in 24 hours, someone to come knock on your door and tell you what the next move is.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's just wait here. And
Just wait here
we'll
for
see you
hours.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay.
No, literally.
Thinking about whatever just happened, especially if you get in a fight with someone and then you got to go stay in a hotel somewhere, like now everything that's on your mind, you are consumed by whatever the show is. Are there any girls from the show that you are cool with, that you had beef with on the show? Who are you?
So many.
Like who do you keep in contact with? Do you have any bad girlfriends?
Judy and I are in contact. Erica, aka Lucci V, and I are in contact on Twitter all the time. Christina Salgado from my season, Jersey, we talk. Jada and I are in contact. Rima and I are in contact. Ashley from my season and I are in contact.
Okay.
The thing is like, I don't hold anything against anybody for anything that happened on that show because we were all just trying to survive in a fucked up situation.
So another person was obviously I met you through Danny. And I know that like during the time you guys were about to go on BGC 13 Redemption, right? Was that Redemption? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember she met up with me. You guys had gotten into it over something with CT. And I met up with her and was trying to like mend you guys because you were about to go film together.
Yeah, it was the night before. The day before.
And so after that, for me, I don't know if I think I might have talked to her a few times online. Where's your friendship now? I know you guys kind of did anything mend from that, or if not, could you ever see yourself having a conversation and being cool again?
As far as mending things, no. Like we're not friends, we're not in contact. The reason for that was, there were things, as you kind of mentioned, like there was an argument that happened off camera before the show, like prior to filming.
Right.
And so I think we went into the house with unresolved issues. And then those issues kind of blew up. Like, I think it was very easy for people to turn Danny against me because she was already like feeling a certain type of way towards me because of a situation with CT. But we did mend things at the end of that season. There was like a big therapy session and we mended things and we had a conversation and hugs and whatever. I don't think our friendship was quite the same after that. We were also living on separate coasts. I was in LA, she was still in Boston. And then when the BGC 13 reunion came around, basically she had texted me and said that something to the effect of she was mad that I had lied to her about why I didn't attend the reunion. And the reason that she called me out on that is because somebody in production had shared with the girls that the reason I wasn't was allowed to not attend the reunion was because I was having a mental health crisis. So she was upset by that, but I didn't feel like she was a safe person to share that with at the time,
right.
Fair. And then I got a follow-up text. And mind you, I was like in the midst of a mental health crisis. As you know, to skip a reunion is not like small. It's not light.
Allowed, to be honest.
It's not taken lightly at all. So you can imagine what I had to go through for that to even happen. Right. And then she called me out saying, "Oh yeah, they played a bunch of clips of you talking shit about me," which, when I asked other girls that were at the reunion what was said, it wasn't anything that egregious. It was like we were not getting along the whole season. Like we both said bad things about each other. But the thing none of that is unforgivable. Like the reason why I can't associate with her anymore is because Danny has always been a person to take it to the internet and to take it to YouTube and to take it to a podcast and to just like bring like her issues with me public. And like, I developed a friendship with her completely. Like, yes, we met because we were both on Bad Girls Club, but we developed a friendship off camera. Like, we had a very
that was a legit. That's why it kind of hurts me. And I remember meeting up with her because I was like, no, y'all can't not be friends.
Yeah, no, like, and it's unfortunate that like, it's the whole thing sucks, but unfortunately, like I cannot allow people into my life. Like I've had so much turmoil and like bullshit in my life. Like I can't allow people in my life that are not like safe havens for me. And somebody who's going to take any of our issues to the internet is just like not a safe person for me to be friends with. So that's where I'm at with it.
Fair enough. And speaking of taking things to the internet, you said that you were cool with Christina.
Yes.
have you seen, I mean, I know you have because I seen you repost a clip on Twitter, this interview she did with Rocky.
Yes.
Where she talked about her experience going on Zeus and filming the Bad Girls Club thing. But how did that turn into starting a petition to, cancel baddies on Zeus, to kind of going down this rabbit hole? And then I want to talk about how kind of I latched on and went down that rabbit hole with you.
Yeah. So, like I said, I still talk to some of the girls, and, there were some girls that I still speak to, like Jada and Judy and other people who, have done the show. And I had just been hearing rumblings, like rumors and things about what was going on at Zeus and that things were not right. And then I saw the interview with Christina, where Christina described some of the most like horrific, egregious work sexual abuse I've ever heard, including being locked in a room for hours and pressured into, what is implied to be like sexual favors. And it just like made me sick to my stomach. And the thing that really bothers me about it is, I've talked a lot about Natalie. I'll just get it out there. But Natalie comes from Bad Girls Club. Like, she understands that in reality TV, there's always going to be a certain level of exploitation that happens.
Yep.
That's just kind of what it is. It's par for the course of what we do in reality television, because you are giving up a piece of yourself. You're not playing a character like you are, but not to the public.
You're taking a piece of yourself that is producible, and you are playing that character. Because we are not all one-dimensional. So it's really just a magnified version of, like New York. If you ever meet New York in real life, she's crazy, but
she
she's
plays a character. It's a character.
And,
yeah. To a degree. You know what I mean? Like, people,
she got it in her.
No, exactly. 100%. But so the thing that bothers me is that Natalie is recruiting these girls. I mean, if you go back and look at the origins of the show, there was a lot of shady business going on. Season 1 with like, they all started the show together. She kind of took the show and ran with it.
Which
there's that.
I watched all of Sarah's. She got an online. She calls it a book, but it's really like these videos that she sends you in a Dropbox. It's $7. Totally recommend it. It is, when I tell you, Sarah is the Risa Tisa of Bad Girls, which after you watch it, because I saw some of your tweets and I was like, let me go down this rabbit hole. And it's not even just Christina's interview. You go to Jocelyn's Cabaret and you can see these are real lawsuits. Like at the reunion, Jocelyn's man apparently grabbed her, this is alleged, right? Because there is no footage of it. But a lot of girls went live afterwards talking about how this man grabbed her hair out of her head and beat her face in.
Disgusting.
And they're in court for that right now.
Disgusting.
So you can look that up. I also watched Lunel, who's a comedian.
Yep, I've seen that.
She did one of the reunions. And for
Jocelyn's Cabaret.
And she went on there and said, I regret doing it. Like, and I don't regret a lot of shit in my life, but I regret going on that. Yeah. She was like, there were pimps and hoes. I'm not taking it back.
Yeah.
She was like, it's not alleged. I saw it with my eyes.
Yeah.
And then you see the owner of Zeus come out and try to argue with her that that's not what she saw. And it's just like, where there's smoke, there's fire to some degree.
What would her incentive be to say that? I mean, she has a bigger platform than Zeus Network, to be honest.
Yeah.
More people know who Lunel is than Zeus Network. When you bring up Zeus Network...
Don't let Zeus tell you that.
Well, when you bring up Zeus Network to anybody in the industry in LA, they don't know. 95% of people don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Or they're like...
But no... So what I was saying about Natalie is the thing that bothers me specifically, because people want me to, I'm coming for Zeus. Like, I'm coming for the whole network. I get that.
Because that was my next question. Like, people are like, you have a personal vendetta against Natalie because you weren't on, where you weren't asked to be on Baddies. And
Can you imagine me on Baddies?
No, girl, the way. You in this little like last season of the Caribbean, the way they would have thrown you off the boat.
Like the assertion that I would want to be on baddies is so funny. Like, I'm too old to go on baddies. I can't fight. I'm trying to be at home with my dogs. Like, I'm not trying to go on baddies at all. But the thing that really bothers me about it, like, not only because these things have happened to women that like I know and I've worked with, and people are going to say, well, you and Christina weren't friends, or you and Sarah weren't friends. Like, okay, just because I'm not friends with somebody doesn't mean that like I know that person, I've worked with that person. Like it affects me when I see them like going through something horrible. Like, this is horrible. It's so like unfathomably, like nightmarishly bad. The allegations and a lot of what's even just out there that is proven, like videos of like Natalie making out with an employee. Like,
oh, please, well, let's get into that. But before we do, I want to say, like, it's a, you know, you see these allegations, right? And it's like similar to like, there's a documentary out right now called, it's that Nickelodeon one.
Oh, Quiet on Set. I've watched all 4 episodes.
So working in the industry, like Dan Schneider, like these aren't
we've known this.
You know, and is Dan Schneider a bad guy? Like, yeah, he should not have been.
He's a pedophile.
Yeah, sexualizing
regardless,
children.
like literally regardless, I don't care if he has put hands on a child or not. I mean, there's definitely speculation that he has, but
you're sexualizing children.
But regardless,
material,
exactly. You're literally filming fetish content with kids in it for children. You're sick. You're a pedo. Literally, goodbye.
And my thing is with baddies, it's like, look. Again, I saw this meme. It was like, don't try me. I grew up watching Bad Girls Club kind of a thing. And I get that too, because it's like, look, I went back, I watched some episodes of Bad Girls. We lived for the fights, but the show was not about, it wasn't a brawling.
There was storyline and also the fights.
And we'd be irritated because you'd have to wait a whole episode and it's a filler episode, but the fight's going to be in the next episode.
Well, and then the editing on the fights, it was like the fucking purple, like
looking like
flashes,
Spider-Man, comic book.
It was so crazy.
Yeah. You know, which I do miss that
No,
when I do watch
it.
the baddies.
I love it. But no, like, and listen, you know I have my qualms about Bad Girls Club. I think Bad Girls Club was exploitative. I don't think that it was positive content to put out. Do I think there were a lot of iconic moments? Yes, of course. But for me to have like qualms about Bad Girls Club, Baddies makes Bad Girls Club look like Barney. Baddies makes Bad Girls Club look like Sesame Street.
Yeah.
And to know that not only we're not even talking about what's going on the show, which is egregious. People having seizures and miscarriages and getting beat up and drugs on set and pimps on set.
Or no, I just watched the audition. A blind girl showed up to the audition.
Please,
and got jumped, like got beat up on it. And it's like, or then you see a clip of Natalie being like, "You want the ticket? You want the ticket? Punch her." You know, like.
No, but this is why Natalie.
Is that how they casted you on Bad Girls Club? Was it like, we want to see how you fight?
Can you fucking
Roll
imagine?
them sleeves up, girl.
Literally, no, because that's insane. Because that's fucking insane.
I want to know what insurance Zeus has, because that, like, I just be looking at them. I'm like,
none. They have manipulation and control. They have manipulation, financial coercion, control. Like, they are specifically seeking out women. Because notice all the women who've had a following or who are established or who have careers, they haven't lasted on the show. So the women they're truly seeking out, they'll use women with a platform to like enhance their viewership, of course. But the women they're really seeking out for the core cast are poor. They have substance abuse issues. There was one story I heard where one cast member, when she wasn't filming, was living in her car and on food stamps when she's not filming. Like, that sets up a situation for people to be abused because they're in a situation of desperation and they're being put in a situation, in a workplace situation where if they are not performing sexual favors, they are not going to continue to have a job.
I saw this interview with 5EO4 and he talked about like how Natalie stole his best friend or something like that. And then come to find out it was Curtis from Bad Boys Club. apparently then was dating Natalie because she takes breaks from being a mom and a wife, and again, just different. Also, just like you look at like Harvey Weinstein, who used his power to have sexual relations with people and gave them spots and made them kind of go back and forth on each other if who's going to show daddy what, like,
no,
and
literally.
so you're playing that part. And then this is on Natalie and also Lemmy. I mean, one of the CEOs, because then when I found out who owns Zeus,
King Bach, Storm Power, Amanda Cerny. That's who owns Zeus Network. Those 3 people.
and Lemmy.
Yeah. But I have tweeted and reached out and said XYZ to all 3 of those influencers, King Bach, Storm Power, Amanda Cerny. I've sent them clips. I've said, what do you guys think about this? This is happening on a network you own. Women are being like viciously.
But there was also a clip with King Bach, and I forget who it was. She went on there. I think she was on Zeus. And she said something about Zeus, and he was like, oh, I don't know. I was a founder. I don't know what goes on over there.
So he's making no money off of any of it?
I don't know.
Because according to Wikipedia, him, Amanda Cerny, and Storm Power are still the owners and founders of the network. So we'd love a statement as to how you feel about the various credible assault, sexual assault, physical assault, financial abuse, drug use.
I went down a Reddit thread and they posted, you can look it up. It's on the California government site, all the lawsuits that they're in. And a lot of the lawsuits, they are violent or things claiming violence and mistreatment. And all of them try to get settled outside of court.
Of course.
And we do see this a lot. A lot of the girls who come out and make these crazy claims, all of a sudden, a week or 2 later, it's like, oh, it never happened. It feels like possibly maybe being paid off, or just like all of a sudden, like
or
these are
intimidated.
Well, that too, yeah.
I mean, if you're thinking about pimps, like if you know anything about sex work, like yes, sure, pimps can exist to like afford some level of protection. Madams can exist to afford some level of protection, but that's not the case here. What's happening here is women are being put in a position where they are being intimidated by droves of like big fucking scary men on set. And my whole thing is like, I advocate for sex workers. I am currently working on laws to help sex workers. Right. I fully support sex workers.
What is the law that you're working on right now?
Well, I'm working on a law that is going to put specific protections in place for independent content creators. Okay. So say you work on like a porn set, so you go with like a company like Vivid. There are all types of laws in place around like a production set like that, I mean, is there room for improvement? Certainly. But there are laws in place that protect people on a professional set. When people are filming OnlyFans content, a lot of the times they're going to somebody's house and they're just filming it. So I'm working on creating a law in California, and then obviously want to eventually expand to make it a nation, like a law in the United States, that if you're an independent content creator doing sex work, there needs to be a contract written at least 24 hours prior to your shooting that details if you're doing any impact play, any BDSM, any violent sexual acts, any kink play, hitting, slapping, fisting, anything like in that realm. It needs to be in a written contract, and the contract needs to be signed at least 24 hours before filming, before you get to that person's house. And also, I want it to be a part of the law that there is a witness in the room. The reason that I'm so passionate about it is because and we can talk about this later, but basically I experienced abuse. Well, I experienced abuse at the hands of an ex, and that ex then went on to become, or was, I guess, even prior to me dating him, he is a serial rapist, abuser. Yeah, he's a serial abuser. And currently at this moment, he has 48 victims that we know of, which is like unfathomably horrible. And I found out there was a Twitter account of all these allegations against him. The Twitter account was Cancel Heaven POV, because Heaven POV was his OnlyFans name. The Twitter account was Cancel Heaven POV. It's still up with most of the allegations still up there. The Twitter account was brought to my attention, and I had a mental breakdown. I mentally spiraled. Like, it crushed and devastated me because I felt so guilty that I had never held him accountable when I was abused. Because maybe I could have stopped him. But, you know, that's my own shit to unpack. And like, I get that it's like not fair to do that myself, but that's just the thought that I had.
But how did you deal with that?
Well, I honestly, I had to go through a grieving process. I had to be alone. Like, I didn't want to be around people for a while. I mean, I had PTSD from that relationship, from Bad Girls Club, from like lots of things. You know, I'm diagnosed with PTSD, so it triggered that immensely. And so it was just a lot. Like, I had to take a mental health leave from my job. That eventually, when I tried to go back to my job, they didn't welcome me back, because how do you tell your job, like, the reason I'm not okay and the reason I can't be at work is because my ex, who I was with for 7 years and had his name tattooed on me, and who I've known since I was a teenager, is a serial rapist and abuser. Like, people can't wrap their brain around that.
We do this thing, I feel like, as a society, it's like we shame the bad guy, but then we kind of brush it under the rug.
Completely. It's uncomfortable to really do something about it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you almost feel like, you know, there's a lot of victim blaming that goes into hand, or, you know, well, she asked for it. She got her tits out.
Completely.
You know, what were you doing with him for so long?
I was with him for 7 years. Exactly. Why were you with him for 7 years? Well, until you're in an abusive relationship and you understand, like,
narcissism,
the push,
love
the pull,
bombing, yep.
the guilt, the complete breakdown of like your self-worth as a person without that person, you know?
And you'd be really surprised. And again, you know, we were really close, and I didn't know that was going on with you. Same way I was going through literally the same thing, and they had the same name. Crazy.
I know. Ew.
But you do, and it caused me to, you know, he knew what was going on with me at AfterBuzz. He used that to kind of be like, oh, my team, the love bombing, and I'm here for you. And you think, oh, I am going through this thing in life, like, and here's this person here for me.
They make you feel like you're the only,
and then they try to pull you away from everybody, to the point you don't have control. And so you were in this thing, and how did you pull yourself out of it?
Well, I didn't. I essentially, like, he got another girlfriend and like discarded me, which is a common experience with narcissists. And I'm obviously glad it happened, but it was like devastating and crushing because we moved out to LA together. I had no one out here besides him, you know, like I made friends eventually.
Right.
But when I first moved out here, I had nobody but him. And coupled with the fact that like I was on Bad Girls Club and all day, every day, I'm getting people in my inbox.
And he was there for that ride with you because he came on AfterBuzz and like,
he was with me on BGC 9.
Yeah.
All 3 seasons of Bad Girls Club I did, we were together. And so he would throw Bad Girls Club in my face a lot, and like things fans would say to me in my face a lot. He would make disparaging comments about my body all the time, like things like that. But so, yeah, I mean, the way that I got out of it, I mean, physically, like he removed himself, I guess. Well, not even, because I tried to break up with him, and then he wanted to stay together. And then I found out he had another girlfriend. So that's when I was like, I threw in the towel, but it was devastating. But how I got out of it mentally, like, I guess continuing to like see his behavior over the years. And
like forgive yourself more so. How did you forgive yourself?
How did I forgive myself?
For staying in that relationship for that long, for, you know, not holding yourself accountable. Now you're finding out that there's 40 something victims. Like, how did you, what's your way of overcoming? I know you want to work on a documentary with a lot of the victims. Is kind of a therapeutic way for you to deal with the situation.
What I want my documentary to be about, which I've pitched unsuccessfully thus far, but what I want it to be about is really not about him. It's about abuse, because the thing that strikes me the most when I look back at my abuse, I mean, I met him before my 18th birthday. Like, I've known this man since I was a little teenager. So I watched it escalate over many years, you know? And one of the things I noticed about abusers is that the abuser doesn't just manipulate and abuse the person they're abusing. They abuse and manipulate everybody around them, because it takes a village of people enabling the abuser for the abuser to continue to abuse. Because if no one fucks with the abuser and everybody's like, you're a fucking weirdo, they can't continue to abuse people, really. You know what I mean? It requires them putting themselves in situations where people trust them. And so do I carry like shame and hurt and like guilt for staying with him as long as I did? Of course I do. But I think what helps me forgive myself is that like, this is a master manipulator. Like, I didn't stand a chance.
I do love that you say do versus did, because something I talk about with my therapist all the time is that, you know, you're expected to like, oh, I forgive myself and move on with life. And then 10 years goes by. It's like, I can put myself right back in that place.
100%.
Because I experienced it. I know the feeling.
When I saw that Twitter account, it was like I was 23 again, locked in my bathroom, like watching this man like take the fucking lock off the hinges. It was like I was right back there.
But now you have the tools to work through that.
Completely.
And now you have the voice to be able to help those. And so what I, you know, knowing you, and what I really want to get across is this, is because I see you go back and forth with most of them are idiots. But your purpose for caring, and it's not, oh, I wanted to be on Baddies. You were asked to do it at the beginning.
Yeah,
like,
for the very beginning, before it was Zeus affiliated.
Right. So it's not about that. It's more about, I think, people understanding your life and what you've been through, which is a big, again, why I wanted you to be here first, and us to be able to have this conversation, because it's so relatable. Because when I went through what I went through, I remember watching the show Dear John, which was a podcast.
Yeah.
And I was horrified. I literally called so many people of my friends and was like, did you tell anyone about this? I thought they made a show, because I didn't understand how
it could be a universal experience.
That so many people go through this, and that there are fucked up people that will go above and beyond in ways that you just, Teresa T said, who the fuck did I marry? And honestly, her tea is crazy, but I'm just looking at that like, if y'all think that was crazy.
That part.
So, you know, to hear your story, and when I saw you talk about it online, that's when I immediately reached out and was like, yo, like, I want you to feel heard. I want you to feel seen. I'm grateful that you came out, because I still haven't really come out and talked about what I went through.
Yeah.
You know, in my mind, it feels a little different, because it's like, well, you know, in jobs, it's like, oh, two gay guys, like, you know, it's whatever. It's not sexual harassment if it's two guys. And like, it just,
people will explain away anything. They really will.
And so you sharing that story, and, you know, and me not knowing that you experienced that, I was like, no, I need to reach out, and we, you know, were able to reconnect. And then the whole stuff with Zeus started. I saw the Zeus stuff, and it was like, I saw the reaction you were getting, and it's like, no, I want you to be able to share your story, because I see what's happening. I see what, you know, a bunch of girls from that aren't connected to each other coming out and saying something about a network, knowing how I've worked in production for as long as I have, I wouldn't put it past anything.
Well, and the fact these girls come from different seasons. They're not all in communication because I've checked. They don't all follow each other. So they're not all friends. So
I mean, this goes back to
it's
when
not a big conspiracy.
One More Chance, like,
oh yeah,
started. And you know, it's concerning. In LA, there are a lot of groups that give very much cult mentality.
oh yeah.
Cult, and that is indoctrination, absolute obedience. That is creating a strong social pressure. Like you said, like it takes a village to make.
Completely.
When you go on these shows, they almost don't want you to think reasonably.
No, of
because if you
course.
think reasonably, well, you're not going to give us.
You're not going to go on the show.
We can't.
If you're a
produce you.
reasonable person, you're not going on the show because, like I said, it's 13 episodes of 3 months of filming. So you see, so say I did watch, which I didn't, but say I watched every episode of Bad Girls Club, I still would not know what I was signing up for because there's 2 months of footage that's not on the show. Mm-hmm. You don't know the ins and outs of being on a reality television set until you experience it. I don't think I can even speak to other reality TV experiences. Like, I couldn't speak to what goes on at Real World or on The Bachelorette or on Love is Blind or wherever because I'm not on that set. Right. It's different everywhere. I can speak to Bad Girls Club though, and I can tell you that none of you would be your best self in that situation because that's not what it's designed to do. It's designed to bring out the worst in you. That is the point.
What's something that, because, you know, the other craziest part of all this, honestly, because I was like working at AfterBuzz, I know Janisha John, who's Lemmy's wife.
Yeah.
And always been super sweet, very kind. And I was just kind of confused with her brand. Like, girl, why are you on this show? Like,
yeah.
I
She's way
see
too
her
classy
being, like,
for
she
that.
could be on like E, like all this stuff.
Completely, yeah.
And then I'm like, who is Lemmy? Who is this guy? Like, he just kind of came out of nowhere, right? And so I like Googled and I'm looking up who he is. I saw like some of the shows he didn't, you know, he worked on some shows, mostly Preachers of LA and kind of stuff.
Yeah, like it wasn't giving network owner.
No.
You know what I mean? It felt very like he came on the scene and then it was like, I own a network. Like if you're in the industry, you know that doesn't happen. It's unusual. It's very odd. Yeah.
And, you know, there was a guy named Mark Chabal who worked on Zeus, who you can see that like, if you compare their IMDb's, like they probably met around Preachers of Detroit. And Mark Chabal, I feel like, was probably brought on to help Zeus learn a format for creating reality TV.
Right.
And as I went down the rabbit hole, Mark Chabal's dead. And I was like, okay, well, how did he die? Mm-hmm. And there's, I don't know, and maybe if y'all are at home, maybe someone could point this out to me. But I couldn't find an obituary. Everything felt very...
swept under the rug?
Yeah, like everything written about his mysterious death was the day after, and then there's no like follow-up. Like, fine, okay, we don't know how he passed away, like what about weeks later? And all the websites that I could find that talked about this were these weird links. It wasn't like the Daily Mail or like whatever. So that kind of raised a flag for me, on top of what the girls are talking about, on top of seeing the allegations and the court cases. And then I'm like, who is this Lemmy guy? And I Googled who his parents were, and to find out, his parents are like super religious. His dad like has a church in Israel, and I was like, okay, that's
Jewish?
I don't really. I think
they're Christian, right?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I think they're like, Christian because I think that Lemmy said his parents had Christian television networks.
All that to say, my biggest kind of concern with it was your parents are super religious.
Yeah.
Do they look at this content and are like, we're proud of you, son? Like,
yeah, like what is their take on it? I would be interested to know that as well. Like, because... And
especially because on his mom's website, I saw she worked with this ministry called Prestige Ministry. Mm-hmm. And it was with this girl, Taffy Dollar, who is married to Creflo Dollar. He's a big mega church preacher. He was in the news because he said God told him that everyone in the church should give him money so that he can buy a $1 million jet. And he got backlash from that. So, all right. So that's
You're fucking with me.
I'm so serious. I never heard of him before, but and I don't really know what came out of that.
Oh my God, not tithe for my jet. I'm dead.
Yes, tithe for my jet.
Tithe for my jet.
Jesus spoke to
Jesus
me.
wants me to have a jet.
Hey,
I'm dead.
And maybe Jesus said, let me bring some pimps and hoes onto a network.
Yeah, it's odd.
It's
his background.
Weird. No, wait. So Prestige Ministry.
Oh, yeah.
So Taffy Dollar is the owner of this Prestige Ministry. I also think it's really funny when you go to Taffy Dollar's website, it literally just says give. There's a button that's give, just give money. What do you do? Who are you? Hi.
I can do nothing but respect the hustle.
And same. Because you know what? At this point, you ain't even lying about what you're doing.
Oh, my God.
Get it, girl. But,
so Prestige Ministries.
So then I'm looking into it. I'm like, okay, this is okay. What do you do? Prestige Ministry. Right. Prestige Ministry, they help sex workers. So, they don't say help, but they basically, they do help. They help sex workers.
And this is a Christian organization?
Yes. And she did say in an interview I found that, it is very, it's not orthodox really. Sometimes they'll go to strip clubs and pay for lap dances. They won't get the lap dance, but it's their way of being able to go in the back room to talk to the girl and offer if they need a safe way to escape, or sometimes they'll befriend bouncers or club managers.
This is a Christian charity going to strip clubs.
Christian ministry.
A Christian ministry going to strip clubs.
And they say to some of the bouncers, hey, if you know any girls that are strung out or anything, send them our way. We'll provide housing. We provide condoms. We provide a safe space for these women, and we want to build up their confidence. So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, okay. And again, I don't know girls.
I would support it, but it's very, very, very unusual.
Well, I also just was looking for testimonials. I couldn't find a lot of testimonials, which privacy-wise, maybe some girls are I'm not trying to be found or whatever.
For sure.
But what's weird to me more so is that, Lemmy's mom has this on her website, and I would think
So Lemmy's mom works with a charity.
Worked or was in
is affiliated in some degree with a charity that's a Christian charity that is allegedly helping sex workers.
Right. So then that's why I brought up that a lot, people on Zeus are possibly doing sex work, because I'm like, well, wait a minute.
That's concerning and odd given the
it's more
allegations against Lemmy. Given the allegations or that there is literal trafficking going on at Zeus, and again, these are allegations, but we've all heard them. We've seen videos of them going to Dubai, which is in the Middle East. We've seen videos of them at yacht parties. We've seen girls on the cast refer to other girls as 304s, which is the police code for a sex worker.
I did not know that.
With all of that, and then his parents having a charity that allegedly is assisting sex workers, that doesn't sit right with me. That's odd.
No, it's definitely odd. What's more odd to me is that I'm I just want to know, what are y'all conversations like? Are you, because my mom is very religious, and she'd be watching these things when I was on AfterBuzz, she would be like, Jesse, you shouldn't talk like that. You're this, God, Jesus.
She still watches it though. My mom's like, no, thank you.
I mean, my mom is horrified, but so I would love to sit down with Lemmy and talk to him and see from his perspective, do you feel like what Zeus is doing is good for the culture, black culture, whether it be black culture, young culture, whatever? And then how, is it kind of like a PK kid? I hear kids who grew up with preacher kids, they kind of are rebellious. And I'm have they is that kind of what it is with them? And the parents are like, hey, he's doing what he's doing. We're going to do what we do. And maybe that was what made the mom want to be involved. Maybe hearing stories and saying, you know what, I know that, look, y'all are doing what you're doing over there. but I'm gonna take the stands because everything I
Right.
found with his parents is they seem like really good people, and that would be as someone who grew up in a religious family. That to me is interesting.
No, that's really
from his
really, really
perspective.
weird.
What that would, what life is like, and the kind of mindset of every show on the network gives off very much.
But it's not even just giving off, Jesse.
No,
I mean it's blatant. Like Jocelyn's Cabaret is blatantly a show for sex workers.
Well, yeah,
Which
right,
is
to get out of sex work, right, and so that they can be in the cabaret.
Bye.
Life is a
the
cabaret,
old chum.
and then I don't know if you saw the
Let
new
me
thing.
get my Lesbian.
I'm like, look, and you know who else is probably rolling is Mariah Carey, because the fact that
Oh my God, poor Mariah.
Nick Cannon, sir, you are on a network television show.
About impregnating Jocelyn.
Well,
Did you
wait,
see that fucking
yes, but like, first of all, I'm like, you are on The Masked Singer. What are you going? Why are you on Zeus? And then this is the
Nick
show.
Cannon, do you need to
Like,
know?
my thing is like, Wild and Out was actually entertaining.
No, completely.
Bad vs. Wild.
I didn't
Look,
watch
I
it.
watched it. I did.
I did.
Like,
No, I'm glad one of us is
Yes, my friend has a subscription, so he logged in on my account, so I'm tapped in. But I was like, all right, let me see what this Bad vs. Wild is, because I'm like, honestly, I watched Baddies, and I was just like, I can't. I sat through the whole season. I did one review of it because the kids be like, Jesse, will you talk about Bad
Yeah,
Girls
of
Club?
course.
I'm like, okay, and I tried. I did one part. I didn't even
But
finish
it's
with the
not
second
Bad
half
Girls Club. Like
at
that's
all.
the thing. It's a completely
It's
different
girls
animal
it's girls
that
who
wanted to be
watched
on Bad Girls.
Club,
Exactly. And that's my issue
and
with
this
it.
is their way of
Living out that fantasy but
and
it's
boys too, because Bad Boys Club was.
But okay.
I would love to
but
sit down
let's
with
talk
Milan
about
Christopher. That is another.
I would
person.
love to sit down with anyone from Bad Boys Club. I would love to sit down with anyone from
Curtis,
Bad Boys
too.
Club and hear what was going on, because we have a pretty clear picture, right, of what's going on Baddies. We do. Yeah. It's allegations, whatever. I have a very clear picture of what's going on there from things I even know in private that like I'm not going to share because it's not my things to share. But like I know stuff. We know what's going on in Baddies. I would love to know what's going on Bad Boys Club, because there are videos of Natalie Nunn, executive producer / if not in charge of casting, heavily involved with casting. Let's call a spade here. Heavily involved with casting, executive producer, making out with and admitting to on camera buying gifts for a member of talent on her staff.
Well, yeah, I saw her go on live talking about a Rolex, and she was like showing a Rolex in her DIY closet. And then I saw this thing where she was like talking about Smiley, this girl Smiley, who, God bless Smiley. Because to me, we can put everything off the table and just talk about Smiley on this season of Baddies. Like first of all, and it's so funny because I was working on a show, and I said to them, I was like, what would happen? Just to see what their mindset would be. I was asking one of the guys, I was like, what would happen if like one of the cast, one of them works for Bachelor. So I said, a girl on The Bachelor, come to find out she's pregnant and had a miscarriage on the show. He's like, she's going home immediately.
No, immediately.
Like, there's no conversation. We're not even explaining it. She
literally no question. You're getting sent to a hotel. You're doing your final interviews, and then you're going the fuck home. It's the end of the road for you, because any responsible set, that's what they would do.
And then after that, you see, okay, fine. You kept her on to go clubbing and drinking and partying, and then she has a seizure. Again, so then I said to my friend, what would happen if one of these guys had a seizure? I already know what's going to happen.
You're going home.
You're going home. Because you're a liability. One, we don't want responsibility for whatever happens with you.
Completely.
Like,
just from a legal standpoint, not even a moral standpoint. Like, take the morality out of it.
In 4 months from now, I'll tell you guys a story about something very situated, but I can't talk about it right yet.
But like, take the moral standpoint out of it, right? Like, yes, it is morally wrong for an executive producer of a show, Natalie Nunn, to pour drinks on and physically assault a woman who has just had a miscarriage and subsequent seizure. Like, is that morally wrong? Of course. But more importantly, it is illegal. Like, that is what I think people, and we talked about quiet on set earlier.
Right.
Or, you know.
Or even like the Diddy case. Like,
or the Diddy case, or the Me Too movement. It's like people think that people in entertainment are not human beings worthy of humanity. It's like you said earlier, it's very much you signed up for this, you knew what you were signing up for, tough shit. When you sign up for a job, do you know all the ins and outs of that job? Do you know all the politics of that job? Do you know if your boss is an asshole when you get hired? No, you don't know until you experience it. So you should give a shit about what's happening in the entertainment industry because it's a job, and all of those awful things that are happening can trickle down into other industries and do. And entertainment is a perfect example of all of it.
It's called television programming.
Yes, exactly.
It programs people to feel like this is okay, or this happened, so my life's okay. And then you're taking abuse in your real life because you're like, well, or kids are now wanting to fight or filming their own version of Baddies or Bad Girls Club in their homes and fighting each other and all this. And it's like, look, there's a time to watch it and laugh at it. And that was my thing with like AfterBuzz, was like, my whole perspective was always like, I talk from a place of whatever I'm watching is fucking crazy.
Completely. When I went on AfterBuzz,
never condoned it.
I went on AfterBuzz, and I would always give the disclaimer: anything I say on AfterBuzz about the girls and Bad Girls Club is not a direct attack on them. I'm talking about the show. I'm talking about their characters on the show. I'm talking about the entertainment value of the show. You know what I mean? Would I do that now? No. But like, I think there is a difference between talking about
I think also social media has gotten so crazy. So it's almost like a lot of this stuff, like even with this season of Baddies, like, because again, the kids will send me things. I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck Rolly is. So I'm like, let me watch.
Right.
I know who Rolly is. All right. And, they'll send me all this stuff that's off camera that the girls are fighting over, arguing over, things they're saying in their lives, these long ass drawn out lives that you watch because you want to understand what's not being shown and why certain girls are fighting and arguing. Or, there was the picture of Scotty licking Natalie's like ass, and you're like, what am I watching? What am I looking at? Or piecing things together where Scotty's dad's talking about, oh, is Lemmy going to buy you that? And it's like, not the best thing to put on live. Like when people are making allegations saying that Lemmy, like, got you doing certain things. Like,
is sexually assaulting and engaging in romantic relationships
and
to some degree.
I pray that none of that is happening.
Well,
I really
of course,
do. And because I'm going to tell you a story too with the whole Diddy thing, because I truly believe the Nickelodeon thing is a distraction from the Diddy case. Years ago, I worked on set, and Cassie would show up, and I made a comment about, I just noticed something happening, and not happening, but I just noticed something that seemed odd. Brushed it off as a joke. Then years later, Cassie comes out and makes all these statements. And I felt shook because I was just like, if I noticed something weird, and again, I didn't see nothing.
Right.
If it can happen on that level, what else do you think is happening out in this world? And with people with that have power and are under this control, and that's where it's like. And I get like with like Lemmy owning the company and not wanting to come out and make a statement. Fine, at first, but it's like at this point, Natalie will be the downfall of you because it feels like she is like this monster that's absorbing all this power. And it's like, at some point, you're going to, you posted that this Smiley girl was going to hack that Curtis guy's phone and release his address, social security. Now, do I know if Smiley did that? I don't know that, but she posted it on her page. Yeah. But at the same time, it's also like...
do you think she hired a hacker, or do you think that somebody at Zeus Network gave... Because
Natalie has that information.
That's what I mean.
It's like when you go on a show, you got to fill out your address, your social security.
That's what I mean.
They got to pay you. So
the likelihood of Smiley hiring a hacker because someone went against Natalie...
But then if Smiley's on this season... that's even crazier to me. If you bring it on like Lemmy's behalf, right? Mm-hmm. If you bring this girl back on after she posted this man's social security,
No, it's insane. It's so awful.
then revenge porn.
I
like,
know.
After a miscarriage, after all this stuff, like, it's like, now I have to start questioning you, bro. Like, because it's like, at what point are you going to hold some sort of moral responsibility? And not even just moral. Let's just take the moral out of it. Legal responsibility.
Exactly. Like, if people don't think it's immoral, okay. You know, like, it's still illegal as fuck. Like, guys, it's illegal. Like, it's not even a matter of like whether you think it's right or wrong anymore. It's fucking illegal. Like, right. It's horrible what's happening to these women.
And there's so many, like, again, there are so many shows that have this. Bad Girls Club was a first of its kind, mm-hmm. right? And it did stem this influence and this, like, you know, it's why, like, as I get older, I can't listen to certain music anymore, because it's like, look, like, you know, I love, you know, Nicki Minaj and all that, but at the same time, when I see Nicki in an interview talking about, you know, I don't want to talk about my pussy or shaking my ass anymore because I'm a mother, and then your next single is Super Freaky Girl, I can lick it, I can, and again, love Nicki Minaj. I'm going to the tour.
He's a barb. Don't start, you guys. I know how you are.
But I want better. You know what I mean? I want better because
you want better.
As I get older, I see, like, even when I go back to AfterBuzz clips, like, the things I said, the things,
so bad.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you grow up and you realize, like, I get why I was influenced to do it. And a part of it was, you know, especially with AfterBuzz, like, it was, we had the live chat. People mm-hmm. called in. It was like, what's the craziest thing I could mm-hmm. say to, like, get people riled up? Or
mm-hmm.
my big thing Completely. Is comparing, right? I would compare, like, oh, this bitch looks like this or whatever. Like, what's the craziest thing to, like...
Yeah, you're trying to get views. Like, and the thing is, like, do I look back at things I said on Bad Girls Club and on AfterBuzz and, like, whatever, and cringe? Of course. Like, it's so cringy. Would I say half the things that I said then now? No.
And you can't change
But at
it.
the same time, I'm low-key, like, grateful because I feel like other people just have zero self-awareness, like, in my experience in life. Like, most people are so blissfully unaware of their own faults. Like, there's just total blinders, and, like, being in entertainment, as traumatic as it is to some degree, like, just makes you very aware of the things you need to work on because it's in your face. It doesn't go away. You know what I mean? Like, there's still clips from AfterBuzz that circulate. Like, there's still clips from Bad Girls Club that circulate where I'm like, who is this person? Like, that's a completely different person.
No, and going back and watching 13 of you, I was just like, it's so crazy to watch that and mm-hmm. then know you, like, and know the conversations we've had, mm-hmm. your thought process on people, and, you know, how things did affect you and do affect mm-hmm. you. What is something that, to kind of wrap this conversation up, what is something you want listeners to take away from this conversation?
Like, okay, so for example, I'm speaking out against baddies, and most of the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Like, people get that it's bad.
Yes, 1,000,000%.
But there are those people that, you know, take issue with it or don't like that I'm speaking out about it. And I think that stems from a place of, like,
taking their candy away from
I'm taking something away that they like. And what I want people to take from this conversation is, like, that digging your heels into things that you believe is and being like, well, no, you're wrong because that's how I think and that's uncomfortable for me to touch upon. Or maybe it highlights something at you that you need to change and you don't like that. You know, try to have an open mind, because as uncomfortable as being called out for things has been for me in the past, and as much as I've not liked having my behavior picked apart, it really has helped me grow and evolve as a person tremendously. It's improved my relationships with other people because I have, like, a different level of empathy, because I can really try to understand things from a different perspective. But also, like, being able to see people call things out and say, maybe this is off, or like maybe like this should change my opinion, is how we stop abuse. Like digging your heels into this like opinion that you have just cause is how like very toxic behaviors and attitudes and all of that continue to exist. Like, oh, that's just how it is. I completely reject that's just how it is. I reject that.
No, it's funny you say that too, because I was just having a conversation, because I love Housewives and I still talk about it on the channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to Next Mood Swing on YouTube.
Next Mood Swing.
I still talk about it, but you know, I was talking to my homegirl who doesn't watch them. And there's this one season called Potomac, and there's this girl, Mia, on it. And Carlos King had came out and was like, she's the new housewife. She's the future of housewives. And I was just kind of like, I hate that, because I don't like that she's on the show. Like, she's getting a divorce from her man. And then my homegirl stopped me and she was like, well, Jesse, that's kind of like what the show is. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, I mean, I feel like when I do tap in with it, a lot of it is girls, you know, marrying men for money. Yeah. And then once now they get fame and they're on the show, now they go through this split up. They break up their family because they can support themselves, or they find the new guy. And it's funny because even on Real Housewives of Atlanta, like you look at like a Portia and she's about to go on Real Housewives and she's not even married. And there's so many girls. So it's almost like Housewives has gone away from what it was.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was like, I mean, that's how it is. Like, yeah. Well, that's just how it is. And it's like, but it doesn't have to be. It's being produced like that.
Exactly.
And there's this thing where now it's like, you know, women are like, you know, oh, I want to be independent. I don't need my family. I don't need to do this. I just want to go out and have drinks with my friends. And it's like, yeah, that's great. And I do think that.
Don't have a family then. It's great. Don't have kids.
Yeah, we're not
perfectly great.
Taking a break for however many months to film baddies.
Perfectly great to do that. I'm 35. I'm unmarried. I don't have children. I love my life. If you want to have that lifestyle, simply don't have children.
Also, Reality Reckoning on Hulu. It came out in December, but it's with Bethany Frankel. And she talks about how, you know, and I like the interview because they were like, so do you feel like you became famous off Andy and then now you're turning on him? And she said, no, Andy became famous off
right,
us.
100%. And that's what people
exploiting women.
And that's like the thing, and that's the other thing that really irritates me about Zeus Network. I heard a recorded phone call from of Lemmy talking to Natalie. I think Stunna Girl posted it. And in this phone call, Lemmy essentially says, Baddies isn't your fucking show, it's my show. And he's cussing at her and calling her all types of names and just talking to her like a dog. And the thing that really like got under my skin about it is I'm like, Baddies is not your fucking show. It is a ripoff of a show that the girls who were on Bad Girls Club, like that's why you're even able to have this show. Baddies wouldn't exist without Bad Girls Club. Natalie Nunn wouldn't exist without Bad Girls Club. So for this man to have like the audacity and the gall to sit up here and not only be abusing talent, not only be abusing his power, not only breaking every like moral and legal obligation that he has as the CEO of a network,
but not even have an actual like original concept.
But not even to have a fucking original concept. Your shit is ripped off television with awful editing, with terrible production value. Like, please humble yourself. You're fucking delusional. And as much as I don't like Natalie, without Natalie, he wouldn't have a fucking show either. Because Jocelyn's Cabaret and One More Chance certainly weren't fucking bringing in the numbers like Baddies. They weren't.
Yeah, and One More Chance, I think he left. He's upset. I saw him being upset about something on one of the blogs.
He's allegedly not. The tea that I got was that his show got canceled because of a leaked phone call from Christina. Christina did an interview. She played or not a phone call, but like an audio, maybe a voice note or something. She played a clip of Chance speaking negatively about Zeus. She didn't say who it was in the clip. But she said, here is, trying to, and I get it. she was trying to validate her, what happened to her, and like validate her argument. But I guess because she had shared that clip and, you know, they knew that it was Chance, that because of that, Chance the show got canceled. And the reason I know that is because Chance trashed Christina on the internet, which I think is terrible because people were being abused. Like,
yeah, but then I went down a Reddit rabbit. I didn't watch his show on there, but I went down a Reddit rabbit hole about his show and the Believable Girl, and I was just like, and Mangina, and I was just like,
oh yeah, the transphobia on that show.
What? Like, and I grew up in the 90s. Like, it's like where
we all remember Mrs. Man from Scary Movie, okay?
That, and also like, just like, you know, growing up, it'd be like I used to say all the time, as a gay man, I'd be like, oh, that's gay. Right. And gay meant stupid.
But like, it's 2024.
Yeah, no. Like making a girl pull her pants down to see if she has a dick or not, like, inappropriate.
Having transphobia on your network in the 2020s is legitimately insane.
Okay, so I kind of want to wrap this up. Mm-hmm. So, because honestly, I could talk to you about this stuff like nonstop. But where can everyone follow you? Where can everyone keep in contact with you? Let the people know if they want to carry the conversation. Because every day I'll be waking up like, what's Julie talking about on Twitter?
Honestly, it's because people come to me and give me all the tea. Like I'm the messenger. Like, I'm here to spread the word. So if you guys have any tea for me, you can reach me on Twitter, it's Julie Tabbouleh, like the Middle Eastern food. On Instagram and on TikTok, which I've never posted a TikTok, but I will be shortly. So follow me on there. It's my first and last name, Julie Ofcharsky.
Boom. And then you guys can hit me up everywhere at NextMoodSwing. Me personally at DJ Jesse J. And honestly, go live if this is something you guys would want. And maybe
let us know down below in the comments.
Yeah, like if you guys want to get deeper into the tea, because I want to know. I know y'all know way more tea than we've even talked about.
Yeah, like
I only know everything we talked about today is stuff like in Google.
Completely.
Like yeah. I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I know y'all got TT because especially with the auditions that just happened. So if that's something y'all want,
let's get into
leave it down below. So hit that subscribe button, that like. Thank you for watching. And again, Julie, I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Till next week. Peace.
Bye.